got goosebumps, Kyle? At an elementary school book fair, you picked up some Goosebumps stories by R.L. Stine? What a creep. Take the loss, Kyle. That wasn't okay. DarbyCast, Economics Wednesday. Kyle and I were talking about high-impact stories. I was telling him about animorphs, where cool kids could turn into beasts, like a hawk or a bear. Majestic beasts, lions, tigers, parrots, perhaps? I don't remember all of the animals from the stories. I don't think they ever really did rodents. No kids turning into rats, which I appreciate. But Goosebumps, Kyle? You should have spent your money on the sports posters that they had at the Scholastic book fairs. You idiot. Sorry, that came off harsh, but that was pretty stupid. R.L. Stine is a gateway drug to Stephen King, who is a mega creep, Kyle. You ever read a Stephen King novel? Don't count yourself lucky, man, okay? You don't want to walk around in that guy's head. He's got sick thoughts. You can tell that he's the kind of guy who walks down the street and he's looking at everybody. Picture a crowded sidewalk, okay, Kyle? You know what? Let's deepen this example. R.L. Stine and Stephen King holding hands, walking through the streets of San Francisco. And everybody they see, they're just salivating. They're like, I wonder how hard and twisted of a way I could kill you. I'm going to write about it in a book. Except it'll take place in a cabin in the woods, so it'll be extra creepy. What's their deal, man? But it's Economics Wednesday, and I hope you've already taken some economic messages from what I've been discussing. Don't consort with creeps and don't read their literature. It's filth, right? Imagine being addicted to horror as a genre in anything, whether it's film or books. I think that's like a cut below romance novels. And when I say romance novels, you know what I'm talking about. It's pornographic. Her breasts were like palm trees in Miami in the heat of summer, and those coconuts were falling fast, so to speak. They say stuff like that, don't they? I don't know. I've never read one. But if you want to be a great novelist when it comes to that, you just have to come up with a lot of euphemisms for body parts. He unsheathed his sequoia, and like Paul Bunyan, it was time to do a little bit of nature stuff. That's a romance novel. You could honestly take that and run with it. Become a best-selling author in like an afternoon. That book does not take a long time to write. That book gets written as fast as you can type. The ideas, they flow. If you're a pervert, not a whole lot of thought has to go into the plot. Let me just lay that out for you real quick. There's a guy, and he's kind of rough around the edges. There's a chick who's like so career-oriented, but she's like, is this all there is? And then they bone. The end. That's it. That's it. You know it and I know it. But we're getting sidetracked from horror and these creeps. I don't like them. I don't like them one bit. You know, I was watching The Purge the other day because Kyle recommended it. What the hell was that about? I turned it off halfway through. And Kyle, I had the right mind to slug you. That would have been the correct thing to do. But as your friend and as your colleague, I don't believe in floggings, beatings. That's just not how you establish rapport. However, that was sick, okay? That was a sick movie, and I didn't like it. Gave me the creeps, gave me the willies, gave me the heebie-jeebies. All the above, right? I once knew a girl who really liked watching horror movies, and I was like, call your dad, okay? Like, let's sort this out. We're not going to work long term in any capacity. Like, I don't want to be your friend. I don't want to look at you because I know that you ogle knives in your spare time. You watch cooking shows that are very meat-centric, meat-forward, because you're looking at slicing and dicing technique. I see through your nonsense. I'm calling you out. Get out, babe. Get out. And so naturally, we've got to pivot on this episode to something that's in our lane, that's a story worth telling and a story worth hearing. The lane is open. It usually is, pretty much always. What's that lane? German folklore of the 1800s. Brothers Grimm. I promised that it would happen a couple episodes ago, and I'm not one to disappoint when it comes to German folklore. I can disappoint by being absent for an episode or two. You say, hey, what the hell, man? Where you been? I hang out with Illuminati Mike. I go to the gym. I eat ham sandwiches with Doritos. I read. I take Kyle's dog out for walks. Because, Kyle, you've been a little bit delinquent, haven't you? But let's get into some vintage Brothers Grimm. And these guys weren't complete creeps. They were heroes because they were telling stories that had deep spiritual significance as well as societal significance. They gave warnings to people. They said, you're going to want to watch out for this. People like this, bad. Really bad, actually. Terrible hearts, spirits made of demons. Get out. Where's that, right? Where's that been? We don't have that anymore. All the stories being told right now are about mutilating hot chicks and then doing stuff that's like not okay. And your mind probably just went a couple different places because we all know what's okay and what's not. We've got moral compasses that are always pointing at true north. Let's take a quick time out. If you're new to the show, you don't want to go ahead and skedaddle. Get out. Leave. This show is not for idiots. However, I've got a little proviso here. If you're kind of sharp, if people enjoy your company, if you think curls are for the girls and flies are for the guys, maybe stick around. Sun's out, guns out, skies out, thighs out. If that resonates with you, you might just be in the right place. But if all of those things sound terrible to you, like having friends that count on you and being in good shape, knowing a couple fun facts, I'm going to go ahead and reiterate, you get the hell out of here right now. Go take a long drive. Afford yourself some introspective space. Ask a couple deep questions, because that's where growth comes from, and say, why am I such a dope? Why am I such a fucking boner? And I pray that those answers come to you quickly, but if they don't, you're dialed in for a road trip, aren't you? And sure, maybe you listen to a couple episodes of the DarbyCast. You say, I really need to expedite my entire process, because I'm blowing it left and right. I've been reading Stephen King novels, dip my hand in the cookie jar that is R.L. Stine, and I'm really just not okay as a person. You got to know when to call it, right? Look yourself in the mirror and you say, I am a sick puppy. I need to mix a couple things up. Maybe call some friends or former friends in case you've lost all your friends because you're just so deep into horror movies or nearly pornographic romance novels. Maybe you rekindle some flames with people who are already ablaze with mighty spirits. Just a thought. But let's get into German folklore. Everybody's heard of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. But let me tell you about Snow White and her sister, Rose Red. Not Red Rose, but Rose Red. Okay? We know a couple things about Snow White, just straight off the bat. If you are American or European or had like a childhood that wasn't riddled with a lot of trauma, you've probably heard Snow White and kind of have the basics down. Really good at housework, really kind to animals, knew how to make a chicken pot pie, much like Tony Hawk's wife. If you don't know what that means, you want to go ahead and refer to the episode Lake Sports with Mrs. Hawk, okay? So Snow White, rare promise, right? They don't make them like Snow White anymore. They really don't. All these gals, they just want to have an Instagram following, and meanwhile, they're not befriending bluebirds like Snow White. And that's a red flag and a half, fellas. If you're a chick, or maybe a gal you've been, mulling over, being like, is there potential there? Maybe you go on a walk. And don't make it obvious, but take a careful inventory of how she reacts to birds. That's a dead giveaway, whether she's got a pure heart. Also, bunnies, okay? Say you're on a romantic sunset walk with your wife. And you say, oh, look at that little jackrabbit. And she says, ugh, that's disgusting. Get a divorce. It's over. It's over. But let's get into the story. A poor widow. This is how these stories start. But usually it's a lady who can't bear children. This lady's got two. Snow White and Rose Red. They're sisters. And although they're different, they have a nice symbiotic relationship where Snow White is more of an aspiring demi-goddess of the home and hearth. Rose Red's a little bit more rough around the edges. Kind of a tomboy. She's loud, she's boisterous. She just doesn't give a damn. But she's still polite. She's not out of control. She's not farting around anybody. It's not like that. She was into lacrosse, but never crossed the boundary that is softball. You know what I'm saying? It's like she just didn't go there. She didn't. Snow White, quieter, more gentle, tender-hearted. Rose Red, kind of a crunch, right? She'll have a trail mix fight with you out in the woods. You make hard eye contact and you're like, your eyes are made of radiant sapphires. What the heck's that about? She says, let's forget about that and talk about us. And it's like, wow, okay. All right, babe. And just as you let your guard down, she hits you in the face with a fistful of trail mix. That is her brand. That's it. And it's playful. She's not trying to hurt you. But these sisters were unified. They were great together. And the mom, bless her heart, I don't really see this as a configuration that works in most cases where there's no male figure. This mom had some butch elements as well. And she stepped up and said, I'm going to wear the pants and the sports bra. Okay. And it's not like she was a trash wife. Her husband died, probably in a sideways duck accident, because that's what happens in German folklore. He had an angry clan of ducks. The guy didn't pay up. They break his kneecaps. And then he turns into a gourd. Do you see the message there? It's a little obvious, a little too straightforward, but we all get it. But the mom is a dignified matriarch, and she's no stranger to elite level coaching. She tells her daughters, no matter what happens, you are inseparable. You watch each other's backs. You are a team. No bullshit, okay? And that's a mom that's also a role model, okay? Love that. So the two sisters, they often roamed around the woods, and they are just so simpatico with beasts. So impressive. Wolves come up to them and they say, what's up, brah? The wolves don't hurt them. Deer like to graze beside them. No problems there. All these beasts had these girls' backs. And so that gives kind of an new connotation to the word beast, if we're being honest with ourselves. Say, whoa, now we're talking about something else, right? One day, the girls were going for a morning walk, a morning jaunt. Great way to start the day. Have a glass of water with a little bit of lemon beforehand. They go into the woods and they go to an unexplored region and they almost fall off a cliff and die. However, guardian angel shows up and is like, watch out. Girls, there is a ledge here. Just don't keep going in this direction. Comes out of nowhere. I don't want that for you. They go and they tell their mom about it, and their mom says, guardianangel.com. This was a power trio. Mom, 2 daughters, so competent. They knew how to string a bow. They knew how to chop firewood, but they would wear gloves so their hands wouldn't get really calloused and gross. Nobody's into that. Chick with calluses, cool it, right? So here's like the actual start of the story, if we're being honest. Lengthy preamble, but arguably entirely worth it. One evening, they're sitting around posting. Mom is reading a book. She's wearing large spectacles, not bifocals, just industry standard glasses. And there's something kind of sexy about her look. She's not ashamed of it either. Because why would she be, right? She's still got it. There's a knock at the door. Pretty serious knock, if you want to know the truth about it. Mom says, Rose Red, go ahead and get the door, babe. It's got to be a traveler seeking shelter. And Rose Red just hastily beelines for the door, opens it up, expecting to see some weary-eyed bro. But instead, it's a bear. It's a grizzly bear. He's humongous. Even though Rose Red's pretty butch, she still gets scared. That's cute, right? She screamed, sprang back in terror. There was a lamb inside the house that wasn't okay at all. There was a dove that was also pretty startled. Snow White, not a big courage kind of gal. But the bear began to speak and said, chill, come on. Hey, I'm not here to hurt you. I am near death. I'm pretty cold. I just want to warm myself up a little bit. And the mom says, oh, that's rough. Why don't you just lie down by the fire and just make sure you don't burn your fur, because we've got a roaring fire. I'm pretty proud of it. Mom calls out to her daughter, says, listen, things are going to be fine. This guy's a good dude. I can sense it. And this is a question mark for me. In modern society, do you do something like this? Hell no. You show up at the door with a shotgun and you say, what are you doing? You back off. I have 2 delightful daughters, and I'm pretty sexy myself, and I don't know why you're here. But if it's a magical talking bear, I think that kind of tips the scales, and you say, let's see what your character is really like. But if it's just a dude, you're going to say, get lost, okay? I am armed with incendiary shotgun bullets. Slugs, shells, they're going to do damage to you. And frankly, you're asking for it. It's 2 a.m., showing up at my house. I don't know you. But that's times changing from the 1800s to now. Now you have criminals running amok, non-citizens from random places that you've not heard of, maybe for quite some time, maybe ever. Imagine just being at home and then some guy shows up and says, I'm from Myanmar. Can I come in? You say, no. No, you can't. Absolutely not. You're maybe a good guy, but I just can't chance it. Not the way things have been going in this country. Just, I hope you understand. Scram, okay? Anywho, the bear kind of gets comfy and everybody's having a good time, and they dust the snow off of his fur, and The bear is very well behaved. And they pal around hard. They are on a different wavelength where they're enjoying so much. And it's like, boy, can we all appreciate a time where whimsy was our primary gear. We can get back there if we understand the economic messages present in this story. Economics Wednesday, DarbyCast. You know what it is. But let's continue. Time for bed. Mom is in a pretty sultry nightgown. Really shows off her figure without showing a lot of skin. The tailor in that region used her body as a canvas and said, I'm going to make something. I'm going to put some artwork on you. It's this nightgown. Daughters go to bed. Mom's looking good. She says, you sleep in the living room. I've been very kind to you, but I also have boundaries, and I hope that you can appreciate that. I'm a widow after all. Bear says, I get it. I totally get it. Listen, you don't have a guest bedroom. I'm humongous. Living room is beyond acceptable. Thank you. They have a great time all winter. But then spring comes, as it does. And the bear announces to the two girls and their mom, who is continuing to look better by the day and defying the aging process. Some say it was her consumption of locally sourced honey. Other people said cortisol levels are low. She keeps stress in check. She has a strong constitution and a full heart. All those things contribute to how hot this woman's been looking. But the bear says, hey, I got to take off. And they say, oh, man, we were really enjoying your company. All three of them in unison, they just say, oh, man, we're really enjoying your company. He says, well, I have to go back into the woods and protect my treasure from wicked dwarves. And we all saw that coming, right? Spring rolls around. That's something that we all face. Even to this day. He kind of explains it in greater detail. He says, when the earth's frozen in wintertime, dwarves are obliged to stay underground. But now that the snow has thawed, they come up to steal shit. And then they bring it to their caves. There's a troop of them in the region. They work together, and they are menaces. Bear takes off. Short time after this, the mother sends the children into the woods to collect faggots. And I mean that in the old English sense. Bundles of sticks, kindling, wood. Come up to a big tree. They're going to break a couple branches off. It's easy. Tree's dead. High utility faggots inbound. When they get closer to the tree, they see a little midget kind of bouncing around. And lo and behold, it's a dwarf with a fat face and a beard that's about a yard long. It's longer than his body. And this beard of this little dwarf was stuck in a tree. The tree. And he was pissed, the dwarf. And he's like, why are you looking at me? Help me already. You skanks. And it's like, don't talk to us that way. You do not talk to us that way. We are dignified ladies. You stupid son of a bitch. What were you doing anyway? That's what Rose Red asks. And the dwarf snaps back. And let's just give the dwarf a name. Let's call him Fauci. That makes the most sense, right? He says, you stupid inquisitive goose. I'm trying to split the tree and get some faggots for myself. Don't take my faggots. Don't do it. And they're like, but how'd your beard get stuck in the tree, you idiot? And he's like, I fell. And honestly, it happened pretty quickly. I don't know how this came to be. I'm lashing out at you, but I'm really just upset at myself. So get me out of here, you stupid skanks, you sluts. He goes straight back to his tune, and it's like, I don't think you're angry just about your beard. I think you are a bad dude. I think you got a little man's complex, plus you're ugly. And what's your name? It's Fauci? Yeah, get lost. I don't like you. They try to pull him out because they're good-hearted gals. They are. But they can't get him out. And he just yells at him. He says, you nincompoops, you blockheads. This ain't working. Snow White says, listen, we're just going to do things my way. She pulls out a pair of scissors out of her pocket and she cuts his beard loose. And the dwarf is free. And then out of nowhere, he just finds a bag of gold, grabs it, and starts to take off. And he's like, you terrible broads. You cut off my beard. And it's like, we just saved you, you dummy. Snow White and Rose Red have kind of a post game, and they're like, that guy sucked, right? He sucked. I wanted to drop kick him. I wanted to kick him straight in the teeth. Then they decide they want to get some lunch. So they go to a nearby stream, say, hey, there's a good fishing spot. We are slightly butch, but still retain our femininity. That's what they say to one another. They go by the stream. Who's there? Fauci, the dwarf. And he's trying to pull a fish out, but he's a little bitch. So he's getting pulled in. And the girls are like, are we really doing this again? This dwarf's about to get pulled underneath the water, and they're like, as much as you suck, our compassion outweighs your dipshittery. We're going to save you. So they just pick up the fish and throw it 20 feet or so into the dirt, let the dwarf loose, and then he finds like a sack of pearls, and then he runs off. He's like, thanks, bitches. So disrespectful is his tone and his choice of words. I don't like it. Neither do you. Anybody who's cheering for the dwarf right now, turn the podcast off. You turn it straight off. Later, girls are walking around. They see a bird. They love the bird. They don't know the bird, but they're like, we're really good people. You're a bird. That's that. Who shows up? The dwarf. And the bird happens to be an eagle, eyeballing him, looking to murder him. And at this point, the girls had been disrespected so much that they probably should have taken a seat and said, we're going to enjoy the show. We are not going to help this guy. But they put a hand up and they say, Mr. Bird, could you not? And the bird is so aligned with their program that he's like, all right, I guess I'll just do something else. And then the dwarf, Fauci, he just like finds a bag of rubies and then he takes off. He's like, thanks, idiots. Finally, the girls decide to go home. It's around dusk. They've had a full day of getting harassed by an ungrateful piece of garbage. And on their way home, they see the dwarf just sitting on a tree stump in a clearing, counting his money. They're like, you have such weird priorities. You don't know what matters at all. Then out of nowhere, a fierce roar pierces the placid noises of the forest. It's the bear. It's the grizzly bear. And boy, is that little midget Fauci rattled. That dwarf says, Mr. Bear, spare me, please. I'll give you all my treasure. Look at these precious stones. You wouldn't hurt a cripple like me. He's not actually crippled, but he's lying. He says, look, over there, those girls, they look tastier than me. Eat them. I'm old, and I have HIV, the precursor to AIDS. So the bear, as you might imagine, wasn't having it. And he was like, you know what? These chicks are actually pretty sweet. They're my good friends. And to call you a piece of garbage would practically be insulting garbage. You're no good, dude. I think you know it. This isn't news to you, is it? Stupid son of a bitch. Then the bear ripped this little dwarf apart, limb from limb. And the POD song Alive just started playing out of nowhere. I feel so alive. Like really artsy overall. The girls had run off, but the bear says, Hey, it's me. It's your old friend. Gordon. It's me. It's Gordon, the bear. Then they came out, and then they got a little close to him, and then out of nowhere, all of his fur fell off, and he was a huge stud, dressed in gold garments. He says, I'm a king's son, and I was cursed by that little dwarf who had stolen my treasure, and I was bumming out hard, and he deserved to die, and now he's going to meet his maker, which is the devil. He is not one of God's creations. He was fashioned by Satan. No surprises there. Am I right, ladies? And they said, ha ha ha. Snow White is looking real good that day. He puts a ring on her. But Rose Red is not without a prize herself, because the bear, who's now a dude with a chiseled jawline, is a brother, twin brother. He's like, hey, I find you very attractive. Tomboy, it's kind of my speed. You are hot, okay? Don't let anyone tell you different. You can throw a football farther than most other girls that I've seen. But at the end of the day, I'm a face guy. And your face is hot, well-proportioned. Really A+. Then they got all the treasure back, and they were stoked. The end. Let's talk about economic themes and just themes in general. Gratitude. The dwarf had 0. He was an ungrateful little ingrate. He was scum. These girls helped him out constantly. And what did he do? He just threw it back in their faces. Why did they help him? Because they had tender hearts. Was their kindness being taken as weakness? Well, in a lot of ways, yeah. But nothing that little dwarf, Fauci, was saying, there was no kind of bad day that he could have been having that warranted the filth coming out of his mouth. Fuck that dude, right? Let's talk about the themes that are lesser known. Siblings united. Great. Those two girls could have started a business together, and you know it would have done well. And if they ever got in an argument, their hot mom would have stepped in and said, come on, you two. Enough of that. Really great. What about the bear? What about him? What can we pull from that economically? You have to have a keen eye for someone's heart, and then there's big payoffs. The hot mom understood that this bear was a high character guy. It turns out he was. That is not insignificant. Appearances can be deceiving sometimes. Not usually with dwarfs and midgets. They're all pretty bad dudes overall. But maybe somebody who's kind of intimidating looking. You realize, whoa, this person has a heart of gold. Boy, did this just rewrite the script for me. Other themes. Never trust anyone named Fauci. Don't. Do not. You already knew that one, but we got to lay that out explicitly. If you're an entrepreneur, which many of the DarbyCast doctors are, and you paid attention to Fauci for longer than like a month and a half, how much did that hurt your business? Boom. Economic lesson right there. Customers don't want to hear about masking up. They want to hear about Black & Decker tool sets. They want to hear about new flavors of Doritos. They want to hear about avant-garde, artistic nightgowns that show off MILFs figures. Okay. As a shop owner or an online business owner, You know that, right? MILFnightgowns.com. Kyle, you want to go ahead and purchase that? Turnkey business right there. Other themes. People with beards that are too long, not okay. Not okay at all. These girls did this dwarf a humongous solid, and you could argue that they actually helped him out more than he deserved. And what did he do? He threw it back in their face, thus proving that extra long beard guys, they're up to no good, right? Especially ratty beards. Something wrong about a ratty beard. It's like shampoo the thing. It's hair. Wake up, dude. How many business ideas did you pull from this episode? An uncomfortable amount? Is that kind of the number? That dwarf reads R.L. Stine. That dwarf lights candles, burns incense, and touches himself while reading Stephen King. Disgusting, right? He reads Stacey Abrams' romance novels. Look it up. She wrote romance novels, and they were crass. They were not appropriate. She is a politician and a pervert. Huge pervert. Out of control pervert. Here's another theme. Don't mingle with dwarves at all. At all, okay? How did the bear get in trouble in the first place? How did he become a bear? He interacted with a dwarf. Dwarves are well-versed in witchcraft. We've known this for years. But to the uninitiated, who maybe don't interface with dwarves or haven't read the necessary texts, key in on that. Refer to the Randy Newman song, am I right? And for those of you who know, you know the Randy Newman song I'm talking about. And it's not You've Got a Friend in Me. It is definitely not that song. But that's going to do it for DarbyCast Economics Wednesday. You enjoy all the messages. Enjoy the rest of your day. Enjoy business.